To begin in the Machzor, page 1224 at the back of the Machzor, the last verse, Be'ado. We're going to begin our service this evening by lighting candles. I want to invite forward our immediate past presidents, Judy Ackerman and Marcy Greenstein. There you go. And you'll see here, there are candles right below for each of you. Right here. So past presidents, before you light, I want to ask us all of us here, gathered here, just to breathe in together. Whatever it took to get here, you did it. Feel the blessing of a full belly as we begin this fast together. And now all of us, every one of us in this room has loved ones that we want to remember, loved ones who are no longer with us in this realm, but who are very much in our minds and our hearts. As we begin that process of unfurling our layers, making ourselves vulnerable before each other, before God, before ourselves. And so just to bring to mind whoever those loved ones are of yours, whose strength you're calling on tonight, whose love you're calling on tonight, whose blessing you're calling on. And as soon as you have whoever it is that's in your mind clear, ask you to rise. We'll begin first by lighting a Yisker candle and letting that flame burn through our services, a symbol of the strength and love of those loved ones whose memories we're holding this evening. And now to light the festival candles for Yom Kippur. Sending the light of these candles to the loved ones in our realm now, the ones that are with us here in the room tonight, and the ones that are in our hearts, but elsewhere on the planet. And we can say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel
Yom Tov. We may be seated.
And
we turn to number 11 in the middle of the booklet, the handout, and we sing together.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see our way to you, and let us say amen. Let us light these lights and see our way to you, and let us say amen. Hear our prayer. Oh, hear our prayer, we sing to you. Be gracious to the ones we love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear our prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say amen. Let us light these lights and see our way to you, and let us say amen.
May the glow of these candles and the glow of being here with each other. Look around. No, really. With the choir, with the Torahs. Torahs, right. In this holy space with these holy words and thoughts and feelings. May all of those glows carry us forward. There's warmth tonight. There's connection and beauty and awe. There's also fear, heaviness, majesty, judgment, prodding us toward introspection and improvement, we hope, toward positive change in ourselves, our community, our world. Kol Nidre itself is up next. A great example of what last week we called the two melody lines of the Machzor. We're about to beseech the heavenly and earthly courts both, just to allow us to sit next to and pray alongside of sinners. Look at the person next to you. Hi, sinner. We are all sinners in the hands of an angry God, according to one of those melody lines in our Machzor. And that theme is reinforced, that feeling is reinforced by the very solemnity of tonight's opening ceremony. And yet at its heart, that gives Erev Yom Kippur its name, lies the recitation of a legal formula, which amounts to a get out of jail free card. If we vowed rashly and failed to deliver, oops, that vow is nullified. If we fell short, never mind, we've moved the goalpost, making it much easier to kick our petitions in so they show up on the scoreboard in the book of life. And should there be any doubt about this theme, what do we intone not once but thrice afterward? Just a few minutes from now, quote, right? This is quoting Moses, quoting God. God says, I have pardoned you per your word. Past perfect tense, it's done. Success, Mazel Tov. A blessing for tonight and tomorrow. Hold both. Both of these melody lines, these themes from the Machzor, both of these feelings within us, and both of these feelings within those around us and those we love. The optimism of our ability to change and improve, to embrace life, and the concern that we're currently off course, demanding that we ever focus on readjusting that course. The carrot or incentive of redemption and forgiveness, the stick or fear of punishment that impels our self-reflection to teshuva long after the gates are locked, 23 hours and 40 minutes from now. Hold both as we prepare to enter Kol Nidre. On page 690, we invite all who are already wearing or now donning a talit to rise, underscoring the solemnity of the moment. This is that rare evening when we say together on page 690, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit. And on page 692, we ask permission to be with one another.
Bishir Adat Yakom ve'adat hakal. אנו מתירים להתפלל עם העבריינים. Now in the right key. בישיבה של מעלה ובשיבה של מטה על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל. אנו מתירים להתפלל עם העבריינים. בישיבה של מעלה ובשיבה של מטה על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל. אנו מתירים להתפלל עם העבריינים. בישיבה של מעלה ובשיבה של מטה על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל. אנו מתירים להתפלל עם העבריינים.
We invite Sally Shapiro and Jenny Schwarz and Joan and Bob Spiritus, connected to the families that brought us these 3 Torahs. And Abigail Hinkin Way as well, to join us as we prepare to hold the Torahs through page 694, the magic formula of Kol Nidre.
Oh, Nidre, Vesare, Ushavue, Vacharame, Vekoname, Vekinuse, Vechinuye. Dindarna udishtabana udacharimna udasarna nafshatana מיום כיפורים שעבר עד יום כיפורים זה הבא עלינו לטובה כולו ניחרת נבון כולו ניאון שרן שוויקין שוויצין בטלין ומבוטלין לשרירין ולקיימין נדרנה לנדרה ואסרנה לאסרה ושבועתנה לשבועות כל נדרה ועשרה ושבועי וחרמה וקונמה וכינוסי וכינויי דינרנה ודשתבנה ודחרימנה ודסנה נפשתנה מיום כיפורים שעבר עד יום כיפורים זה הבא עלינו לטובה כולו ניחרת נבון כולו יהון שרן שוויקין שוויצין בטלין ומבוטלין לשרירין ולקיימין נדרנה ושבועתנה לשבועות. כל נדרה ושרי ושבועי וחרמי וקונמי וכינוסי וכינויי דין דרנה ודשתבנה ודאחרימנה ודעשנה נפשתנה מיום כיפורים שעבר עד יום כיפורים זה עלינו לטובה כולו ניחרתנה ואון כולו יהון שרן שביכין שביתין בטבין ומבוטלים לשרירין ולקיימין נדרה נעלה נדרה ושרה נעלה אסרה ושבועתנה
Turning the page.
ונסלח לכל עדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה ונסלח לכל עדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה ונסלח לכל עדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה סלח נא לעוונם הזה כגודל חסדך וכאשר נסעת לעם הזה ממצרים ועד הנה ושם למר ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך ברוך אתה Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
We may be seated briefly. Thank you all. Thank you. Wow. Heading into Mariv, Salachti kidvarecha, I have pardoned according to your word. Can you feel the relief? We should, actually, at least to a point. To reinforce that notion of surety via the post-Babylonian exile prophet Micah and the post-Spanish exile Kabbalist Moshe Cordovero. Micah chapter 7, the Tashlich text. We read it here on Saturday. God will throw our iniquities into the depths of the sea, never to come back near us. And that same verse says, Ki chafetz chesed hu, because God is a chafetz chesed, one who really longs after loving kindness. Cordovero, in the early 16th century, comments on this. Yesh behechal yadua, there is in the known upper chamber, assembly on high, malachim, angels, memunim lekabel gemilut chesed, who are assigned to receive each person's outpourings of loving kindness, she'adam oseh ba'olam hazeh, that a person does in this realm. V'kasher midat hadin. So when that midat hadin, that essence of judgment from God, should show up, mikatreget al Yisrael, to lay claim on Israel, on us, miyad otam hamelachim, instantly those same angels, marim hachesed hahu, they show the chesed, the loving kindness that we had done and they had been holding on to, like in a safe, they show it to God. V'hakadosh baruch hu merachem al Yisrael, and the Holy Blessed One has compassion on Israel, on us. Why? Ki chafetz chesed hu, because God longs after loving kindness. So 500 years ago, Cordovero is telling us God will yet say to us, and put your name here, I just went with the F's. Flo, you're finicky and fearful. Fred, you're too often scattered and don't answer all your emails on time. Frank, you cheated. Floyd, what were you thinking? Fiona, you were mean. Midat hadin, the attribute of judgment, is real, according to this concept, this text. And this is the day of judgment, hine yom hadin. It's best when we are able to hear that and say, yes, we see that, we're working on it, here's our plan, our progress to date, please forgive. But even if we're not quite there yet, in Cordevero's metaphor, angels on high still have been tracking our goodness, our loving kindness, and they're now rushing to our defense, presenting our positives. I like to put the two models next to each other, much like those two melody lines throughout our Machzor. We've got work to do. We need to buckle down. We are weak and flawed and maleh avon, full of iniquity. From that reality, let's improve, or else. That's part of why we're here, for strength and clarity, maybe a little shove from behind to do the hard, necessary work of teshuvah. And we are forgiven. We are loved. Angels on high are looking out for us. The good that we do, despite our flaws, still endures. Let's improve from a place of strength. We're about to daven Mariv, the traditional evening service, same words as any Erev Shabbat, any weeknight. But following Kol Nidre, and just before the Vidui, confessional, and Avinu Malkeinu, we're going to experience these words differently. May tonight's prayers help us focus our hearts and minds on what matters most. On the work of teshuvah ahead, the changes we must make, on our simultaneous worth and weakness, our righteousness and our wrongdoings. And may we give the angels, who Cordovero says are right now mikabel gemilut chesed, they're receiving all the goodness that we do, storing it up so they can give it as witness later. Let's give those angels even more to work with in the year ahead. Rabbi Larry Hoffman says prayer is a delivery system for committing us to the great ideas that make life worth living. Ideas that are ritually construed empower us to do what we otherwise would never have the courage to do. May we have that courage. Our Ma'ariv delivery system begins on page 708. We rise for Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed.
We'll continue now from our seats, page 710. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro ma'ariv arabim bechokma poteach she'arim. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני.
Baruch Shemo.
המעריב הרבים.
Amen.
Page 712.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל עמך, אהבת תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים אותנו,
לימדת, כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו וקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, והם נגע יומם ולילה, ואהבתך לא תסור ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני. אוהב עמו ישראל. On the page. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. And let's turn ahead to the closing verses of the Shema on page 722. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני Elohechem. And from the Shema to the Freedom Song, the bottom lines, page 726. ומלכותו ורצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לך אנו שירה בשמחה רבה. ואמרו כולם, page 728, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה, זה אלי אנו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני. גל ישראל. We'll continue in just a moment on page 729 and 30. In the evening, every evening, whether Kol Nidre or just a regular Tuesday night, we extend our redemption prayer from Micha Mocha to include extra verses to help us settle down from the day. Once again, we come to this night with our worries before us. Our prayer is an invitation to acknowledge our fears, not to suppress them. In this moment, we allow our concerns to be gathered together under the canopy of our prayer, to be held there in the peace and strength of community. And somehow, with our cares laid out in front of us, we begin to see that we are not alone with our fears. By giving voice to those basic human worries all together, we remind ourselves that we are the directors of our thoughts, not the victims. We ask now for the quiet of heaven to be with us as we enter the night, in the shelter of each other, wherever we are. We find the strength to pray. May our children be safe. May our loved ones be healthy. May our planet be renewed. May our lives be worthy. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom lehamidenu malkeinu lechaim ufros aleinu sukat shelomecha v'taknenu b'tzatova milefanacha v'hoshienu leman shemecha. Join me please now on page 731. Let's read together the second paragraph, words from Mordechai Kaplan. Please join me. Enable us, God, to behold meaning in the chaos of life about us and purpose in the chaos of life within us. Deliver us from the sense of futility in our strivings towards light and truth. Give us strength to ride safely through the maelstrom of petty cares and anxieties. May we behold things in their proper proportions and see life in its wholeness and its holiness. Baruch atah Adonai Haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We'll turn now to page 734. And then to the Chatzi Kaddish that will lead us into this first Amidah of Yom Kippur, the first of the multiple confessions we will make as a community take our time to move through this quiet Amidah with the strength of each other all around us, the strength of those with us remotely also with us. Let's turn first to 734, the proof text, as if we need one for this Day of Atonement. Ki vayom hazeh yichaper alechem letaher etchem mikol chatotechem lifnei Adonai titaru. Page 736. Yitkadav, yitkadash meraba, ve'amad yivrach yiruteh, ve'amlich malchuteh, b'chayechon v'yomechon, ובחיידךו בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, אמרו אמן. יש מרבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעמה אמרו אמן. Rising. Page 740. Adonai sifatai tiftach ופי יגיד תהילתך. אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Holy One, open up my lips as I begin to praise. Oh God, open up my lips as I begin to praise. Adonai, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. אדוני, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך.
We continue on our own through page 772, including the first confessional.
taking our time to finish our own Amidah. As we're ready, we can turn together now to page 756 to end our silent prayers, as we always do, with a prayer for peace. Page 756.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Totsim Tochotzeim Le'olam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Totsim Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Totsim Le'olam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Totsim Le'olam Ki בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים תחצים לעולם. ברוך אתה, אדוני, המברך את עמו, ישראל בשלום.
Thank you. Just have to say the afternoon tomorrow is going to be really rich, and the same soloist just now will also be our darshan, our teacher of Torah at Mincha. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you all. What a gift. So we turn now from the main body of prayer toward apologies and confession, slichot and vidui. Passages that we recite numerous times across this day, every Amidah, tonight, in the morning, Mincha, Ne'ilah. Our liturgy, we often note, is in the plural. We're going to hear that over and over in the next few minutes. Ki anu amecha, we are your people. Anu azefanim, we are stubborn. Ashamnu bagadnu, we have sinned, we have erred. Al chetchechatanu lefanecha, the sin we have sinned before you. So what do we learn from this? Since we haven't all made exactly the same mistakes, even if the categories do overlap. For Rabbi Ari Witkin, Reconstructionist younger rabbi, these plural prayers were once mostly a support structure that invites me to be honest about my shortcomings, an aid in my personal teshuvah process. They seemed to inherently relieve some of the burden or intimidation of personal repentance. And then he began his own journey of anti-racism learning, understanding, quote, the responsibility of restitution as being connected directly to the power and benefits one reaps, as much as or more than the actions they took. And this led to deeper insights. Just as I am relying on the communal we to aid my teshuvah process, so too are others reliant on me. When understood in this way, Ashamnu becomes both a gift and a responsibility. In these plural prayers, we acknowledge that humanity is inherently interconnected and implicitly commit to support one another in our journeys of tshuva. Apropos of our communities and our movement's ongoing reflections on race and reparations, with many such learnings lined up tomorrow afternoon, Ari continues, the question then of whether we are responsible for damages caused by previous generations or those with whom we are not closely affiliated is essentially moot. The equation is quite simple. When we take our responsibility as Jews to work toward building a more just and peaceful world, such a world cannot be achieved without restitution to its brokenness. Therefore, we have an individual and communal responsibility as Jews to work towards that restitution. So look around. Really. Look around. And on Zoom, in webinar mode, as best as you can, look around. Here we are, interconnected across so many lines of identity and experience. We in this room and we on our screens and radiating outward. In that larger socio-racial sphere that Ari talks of, in this community and all our communities, and in our own lives and families and daily circles, let us celebrate our interdependence and prepare to embrace the plethora of plurals that start on page 782. Each one a reminder that we are deeply in this together. In our Slichot and Vidui liturgy, receive the plurals as a gift and as a responsibility.
יעלה תחנוננו מערב, ויבוא שבתנו מבוקר, ויראה רינוננו עד ערב. יעלה יעלה קולנו מערב, ויבוא צדקתנו מבוקר, ויראה פדיוננו עד ערב, ויראה פדיוננו עד ערב. יעלה נריינו מערב, ויבוא סליחתנו מבוקר, ויראה נעקתנו עד ערב. יעלה יעלה מנוסנו מערב, ויבוא למענו מבוקר, ויראה
יעלה אישנו מערב, ויבוא טהרנו מבוקר, ויראה חילוננו עד ערב. יעלה יעלה זיכרוננו מערב, ויבוא ייעודנו מבוקר, ויראה הדרתנו עד ערב, ויראה הדרתנו עד ערב. יעלה דופקנו מערב, ויבוא גילנו מבוקר,
ויראה
בקשתנו עד ערב. יעלה יעלה אין קטנו מערב, ויבוא אליך מבוקר, ויראה אלינו עד ערב, ויראה אלינו עד ערב. Page 794.
חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו,
חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו,
אדון הסליחות בוחן לבבות, גולי עמוקות דובר צדקות.
חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו, חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו.
הדור בנפלאות ורב הליליות, זוכה ברית אבו חוקר כליות.
חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו, חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו.
טוב ומהבריות יודע כל הנסתרות, כובש עוונות לובש צדקות.
חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו, חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו.
מלא זכיות נורא תהילות, סולח עוונות עונה בצרות.
חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו, חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו. פועל ישועות צופה עתידות, קורא הדורות רוכב ערבות, שומע תפילות תמים now to page 812 to put the words of the 13 attributes, those words of highest compassion and forgiveness, godly compassion and forgiveness in our own mouths. Please rise. Page 812. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Bechanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notzer Chesed Malachim, Nosei Avon Ravesha V'Chata. סלחת לעווננו לחטאתנו נחלתנו סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו מחל לנו מלכנו כי פשענו כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ורב חסד לכל קוראיך. Page 814. Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu Chus Erachim Aleinu Ekabel Berachamim Berachamim Ratzon
תשליכנו מלפניך ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממנו. אל תשליכנו לעת זקנה, ככלות כוחנו, אל תעזבנו, אדוני אלוהינו, אל תרחק ממנו, כי אתה אדוני עזרתנו וניחמתנו. יהיו לרצון אמרי פינו והגיון ליבנו לפניך, אדוני צורנו וגואלנו. כי לך אדוני אוכלנו, אתה תענה, אדוני אלוהינו. We can be seated. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אל תעזבנו ואל תיטשנו ואל תחלימנו. Page 816. ונשוב אליך באמת ובלבב שלם, ולמען שמך הגדול תמחל ותסלח לעווננו, ככתוב בדברי קודשך. למען שמך אדוני, וסלחת לעווני, כי רב הוא.
אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו, כי אנו עמך ואתה אלוהינו, אנו בניך ואתה אבינו, אנו עבדך ואתה אדוננו, אנו קהלך ואתה חלקנו, אנו נחלתך ואתה גורלנו, אנו צונך ואתה רוענו, אנו חרמך ואתה נוטרנו, אנו פעולתך ואתה יוצרנו, אנו ראיתך ואתה דודנו, אנו סגורתך ואתה קרובנו, אנו עמך ואתה מלכנו, אנו מאמירך ואתה מאמירנו.
818 אנו הזפנים ואתה רחום וחנון, אנו קשי עורף ואתה ערך אפיים, אנו מלא עוון ואתה מלא רחמים, אנו ימינו כצל עובר ואתה ושנותיך לא יתמו. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, תבוא לפניך תפילתנו, ואל תתעלם מתחינתנו, שאין אנחנו הזפנים וקשי עורף, לומר לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, צדיקים אנחנו ולא חטאנו, אבל אנחנו חטאנו. איי 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 חשמנו, בגדנו, גזלנו, דיברנו דופי, איי 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 הבינו רמסנו, טפלנו שקר, איי 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 יצנו רע, כיזבנו, לצנו, מרדנו, ניאצנו, שררנו, אבינו, פשענו, צררנו, קישינו עורף, איי 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 רשענו, שחטנו, תיעבנו, טעינו, תיתנו, איי 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 איי
8:28. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בבלי דעת, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ובסתר, חטא שחטאנו לפניך בדעת ובמרמה, חטא שחטאנו לפניך בהרהור הלב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בוועידת זנות, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בזדון ובשגגה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך חוזק יד, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בטיפשות פה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ביצר הרע, ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו, ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחפת שוחד, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בלצון, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך במאכל ומשתה, חטא שחטאנו לפניך נשך, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בסיקור עין, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בעיניים רמות, ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו, ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו מחלנו, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בפלילות, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בצדיעת רע, חטא שחטאנו לפניך בקשיות עורף, חטא שחטאנו לפניך בריצת רגליים להרע, חטא שחטאנו לפניך בשנאת חינם, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בתשומת יד, ועל seated. I've been looking at Rabbi Sid all evening, sitting right here in the front row, and then I looked up and his seat was empty, and I started to have a tiny panic. But then I turned around, and as usual, he's got my back. It feels a little ridiculous to be introducing Rabbi Sid to all of us, but an opportunity to express our gratitude for his ongoing vision and leadership in our community, and an opportunity to hear from him as we do each year on Kol Nidre night. And I think he's taking us someplace far away tonight.
Don't go away, Rachel. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to do a bat mitzvah speech. But you would have had to be off the grid for the past 5 months to not know that with this Yom Kippur, Rabbi Cantor Rachel ends her professional tenure as one of our clergy here at Adat Shalom. And it's something that has put the community into some kind of trauma. Yeah, I think that's the right word. And there's going to be an opportunity to thank Rachel for her more than 30 years of service to us on an event at November 12th here at Adat Shalom. So you'll be hearing more about that. Get your tickets, they're going to sell out real fast. And that'll be appropriate. But because Rachel has always cared so deeply about prayer, I thought that at this sacred time and this sacred space, I want to say a word to you. And that is that for more than 30 years, you have inspired us with your heavenly voice, your heart-centered wisdom, and your extraordinary spiritual pastoral presence on the bima and in people's homes. And you've enriched everyone in this community and our community as a whole. And we will miss you. But I thought at this moment, I want to invite people to engage in a ritual. You know that when we lift the Torah for Hagbah, before we put it back in the ark, the way we honor the Torah, a source of our wisdom for generations, is that we raise our right hand with a talit, either with the right finger pointed or pinky up. If you're not wearing a talit, you can use a siddur. And I want to invite people in total silence to stand at their places and to give Rachel the honor that she deserves for her service to this community for this moment at this time.
I'm lifting my talit to you. Thank you so much.
I need a moment myself. Kavod Rav. I've never crowdsourced a high holiday sermon. In fact, one of my many quirks is that I like to keep my high holiday sermons pretty close to my vest. But I made a slight exception this summer. Here's what happened. An idea took root in my head that seemed like an ideal topic for a Kol Nidre sermon. I was thinking about it for a few weeks, thinking of stories that might help to make the main point of the sermon easier to understand. Now, usually my go-to stories come from the Bible, the Talmud, Jewish history, or many times from my own life. But suddenly I remembered an episode of Star Trek that I had seen decades earlier. My only problem was I didn't remember it exactly right, and I wanted to see it at least one more time if I were to use it. Now, if an Orthodox rabbi was in that situation, he would pray to God. I thought about that for a bit and dismissed it. Instead, I posted to the Adat Shalom listserv almost the same thing. So on a weekday night in the middle of August at 6:18 p.m., because I went back to look it up, I posted an inquiry on the listserv saying, if there are any Trekkies out there who want to help Rabbi Sid with an inquiry, let me know. Didn't know who was going to be out there. Within 30 minutes, 5 people had responded, and 4 of whom were willing to join a Zoom call that very night at 8 p.m. to help me out. What a community, what a community. So I began to tell the episode details, and within a couple of minutes, we identify the episode. Remarkable. Star Trek Original Series, Season 3, Episode 7, the year was 1969, and the name of the episode was called The Day of the Dove. Thank you, Helen Avner, for finding this needle in the digital haystack. This sermon, The Torah of Captain Kirk, is dedicated to you. Just as an aside, by noon the next day, I had another dozen Adat Shalom Trekkies saying, I'm here to help you, Rabbi Sid. If only it were that easy to get members to sign up for Oneg duty. Star date, the 9th of Tishrei, 5783. If you're not paying attention, that's tonight. Have you noticed how with each passing year, it seems harder to cope with the things that life is sending our way? It goes from the mundane to the cataclysmic. The mundane ledger includes online application forms. They just spend an hour, 2 hours on, and suddenly the screen goes blank. Has that ever happened to you? Raise your hand. I just want to, yeah, okay, so you know what I'm talking about. Or you need to call a company or a government agency for some situation. You go through 5 levels of robotic voices, okay? And finally, a human being gets on the line and you're so happy, and then the line goes dead. Has that ever happened to anybody? Okay, misery loves company. Now, it is possible that I'm getting crankier and more short-tempered as I age. But I swear, I don't remember these things happening in the 20th century. The cataclysmic side of this ledger is a lot more serious and definitely is not affected by any alleged crankiness on my part. Climate change is real, and we may have already passed the point of no return. Scientists project that we are likely to have 200 million climate refugees by the year 2050. People fleeing their homes because of drought, flood, or natural disasters, all a consequence of global warming. Second example, the January 6th hearings have documented how we were but a hairbreadth away from a coup that would have ended our democracy as we know it. Third example, despite millions of words written and spoken about the toxic polarization in our country that plays out from the halls of Congress to school boards in Nebraska, no one seems to have a concrete plan of how we emerge from our dysfunctional political climate. This summer, Sandy and I spent a week at the Chautauqua Institute, as we have for the past several years. We were there only about a week before the horrific stabbing of Salman Rushdie on the amphitheater stage, in an amphitheater that we had sat in dozens of times. For our week, the theme was the future of democracy. And as usual, the speakers were nationally prominent academics, journalists, and policy experts. After several days, the formula became pretty clear. 40 minutes of disastrous news, followed by a 5-minute anemic, optimistic ending. One speaker broke the pattern. Professor Anthea Butler, an African-American professor of American religion at the University of Pennsylvania, was refreshingly honest. To an audience that was 99% white, she said, "I am exhausted. I'm tired of fighting. My people have been fighting a system that was rigged against us for 400 years. Now the problem is at your doorstep. It's your turn to figure it out. It's your turn to fight." Now, based on the comments around me, this may have been a bit too much truth for most of the audience to hear. And yet I hear a lot of that fatigue among activists I know who have been in the trenches for a long time and who are having a hard time keeping the faith. In my own circle of acquaintances, it is not uncommon for the response to the upteenth bad news story to be, "The world is coming to an end." These reactions make me scared for our future. Which brings me to the Torah of Captain Kirk and the episode, The Day of the Dove. The episode starts with a small force of Klingons, the arch enemies of humans, being captured by Captain Kirk and being beamed up to the Starship Enterprise as prisoners. But an alien life force made up of pure energy with the power to control both mind and matter also comes on board the ship and takes control of the Starship Enterprise. All laser guns are suddenly turned into primitive swords. And most of the crew of the Starship Enterprise gets locked behind doors that cannot open, so that in a circumscribed area of the ship, they're the exact same number of humans and Klingons locked in mortal hand-to-hand combat with their primitive swords. In the story, when anyone gets mortally wounded, they recover in a matter of hours, almost miraculously, so they're always the exact same number of Klingons and humans, so that the fighting, the combat, will go on presumably forever. Members of each side accuse the other side of past atrocities that may have never taken place. Nonetheless, each side is convinced that the other side is evil embodied and must be destroyed. Is this sounding at all familiar? I'm not talking about the Star Trek episode. I'm talking about how art imitates life, or in this case, how art anticipated our current reality. With the help of Spock, Captain Kirk realizes that the alien energy force on the ship gets larger and stronger as the hatred and fighting intensifies. He realizes that the alien is actually the catalyst for the conflict because it needs conflict to thrive. The humans and Klingons are but pawns in a cycle of recrimination, hatred, and violence that will last for eternity unless the cycle can be broken. As the Enterprise is within minutes of exploding due to the deterioration of its lithium crystals, you'll know that, Kirk convinces the Klingon leader, Kang, that it is in their mutual interest to stop all fighting if they're going to survive at all. Kang is convinced, and in an eerily prophetic way, Kang states, "Only a fool continues to fight in a burning house." With that, Kirk and Kang embrace. Their respective crews, surprised but inspired by their leaders, throw down their swords, and the alien energy force on the ship gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it disappears. I was not just being cute to name the sermon The Torah of Captain Kirk. And I didn't do it because the two Jewish heroes of the story are William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, both Jewish actors. Rather, the episode I just summarized has some powerful Jewish messages. The rabbis recognized the truth about human nature when they wrote about the good and bad inclination that is part of our psychological makeup. It was not an accident that he added the Hebrew letter Hey to Yetzer Hara, making it the evil inclination, as distinct from Yetzer Tov, a good inclination. The rabbis knew that the evil inclination in us is stronger than our good inclination. The entire body of mitzvot, both ritual and ethical commandments, are understood as a training program to help us overcome our evil inclination. Similarly, the entire body of Musar literature, developed in the late medieval period in Europe, was designed to cultivate positive soul traits so that we might overcome our evil inclination. Musar developed disciplines that raised up certain character virtues called midot, such as nidivut, generosity, anava, humility, emet, truth-telling. And they did so that people could live more ethical and purposeful lives. The rabbis' understanding of human nature anticipated by a couple of thousand years the discipline you may know of as positive psychology, which actually was founded in the late 20th century. Martin Seligman, professor of psychology at the University of Pennsylvania, has been the best known advocate of positive psychology. He noted how the human mind is wired to be alert to that which might threaten our survival. He felt that too much therapy focuses on dealing with negative experiences. This, he argued, leads to a mindset of helplessness and hopelessness. Practitioners of positive psychology advocate that we make peace with our past, no matter how bad or traumatic it may have been, and focus on contentment with our present circumstances and optimism about our future. This year, I took an online course on Musar with Rabbi Shai Held of Hadar. We studied a book of Musar with which I was unfamiliar, entitled Midot Va'avodat Hashem, Ethical Traits and Serving God, written by Rabbi Chaim Friedlander in the late 19th century. The book contains this amazing passage. The amount of chesed, loving kindness, one sees in the world corresponds to the amount of chesed one embodies. I want to read it again. The amount of chesed or loving kindness one sees in the world corresponds to the amount of chesed that one embodies. It took a while for the importance of this teaching to sink into my head. Every day we make choices about what we see. Seeing something raises it up in our consciousness. And once on our minds, we're inclined to react to that which we see. So what are we seeing and hearing? News outlets make money when people watch or read their content. The more sensational media outlets can make the news, the higher their profits. In the new book, Broken News, Why the Media Rage Machine Divides America and How to Fight Back, author Chris Starwalt explains how accurate reporting now takes a back seat to what industry insiders call emotionally charged product. The news media has taken a page from the playbook of social media companies, which have made billions of dollars by stoking conflict, creating good guys and bad guys, offering conspiracy theories, and having every post suggest that the consequence of the story is a threat to your well-being or that of the planet. The net result is that we choose the news media that aligns with our own biases, and we become convinced that the bad guys on the other side have to be defeated at all costs. Captain Kirk realized that this downward spiral of demonization, hatred, and violence between humans and Klingons was spelled doom for both species. He had the wisdom to break the downward spiral by doing the unexpected and reaching out to his sworn enemy, Kang. When our Yetzer Hara, our evil inclination, is given free rein over our thoughts and actions, we reinforce the worst tendencies in our society. Rabbi Friedlander's teaching tells us that we need to look for the good in people, the good in our society, and yes, even the good in those we might see as our adversaries or our enemies. In Hebrew, this is called hakarat hatov, recognizing the good in everyone and in everything. Only when we do that can we begin to embody those same good qualities, break the downward spiral, and then possibly to enjoy the beauty of life. Here again, I want to hold up how this Jewish teaching anticipates some hard social scientific research. Steven Pinker, a professor of psychology at Harvard, has been arguing for 20 years that despite what we read in the news and on social media, things are actually getting better in the world. Surprise, surprise. His books, The Better Angels of Our Nature, 2011, and Enlightenment Now, 2018, are filled with charts showing worldwide improvements in mortality rates, ending poverty, decline in armed conflicts, protections of the rights of minorities, and much more. Why isn't this making the news? I always like to end my sermons with a to-do list, so that if you've been moved by my message, you can not only talk about it with others, but you might take some steps towards embodying it in the world, much in the spirit of Chaim Friedlander's teaching about chesed in the world. So here are 3 things I would ask you to put on your to-do list. Number 1, cut back on your use and consumption of social media and televised news. Each feeds on extremism and conflict, just like the alien force on the Starship Enterprise. It is addicting and it is toxic. It will not improve your life. It may entertain and titillate, but it is as bad for your brain as smoking is for your lungs. 279 birthday wishes on Facebook does not make up for the one post in which you learn that a close friend has not invited you to his or her birthday party. The resulting jealousy and anger that you then feel is harmful to all of your relationships and is poison for your soul. Number 2, repurpose the time you save by getting off social media and avoiding televised news, and instead find a local service project where you can work with other people who are committed to helping those who are vulnerable and who are in need. We are the fortunate ones. Helping others is the kind of act of tikkun, repairing the torn fabric of our world, that is a healing balm for both the giver and for the recipient. Number 3, check out the website Conspiracy of Goodness. You remember it, Conspiracy of Goodness. It is filled with stories, both big and small, of acts of courage, ingenuity, and generosity happening all around the world. This is what we need to see and hear. This is what we should be informing and inspiring us. Remember, the amount of chesed that you see in the world is the amount of chesed that you will then embody. I suspect that there may be a good many skeptics in this room who might feel that my message is a retreat from activism and engagement with serious issues that require our time, money, and attention. It is nothing of the sort. It is rather a shofar blast that reminds us that we cannot create a better future for ourselves or for our children without a sense of gratitude for what we have and a doubling down on hope and optimism. That is the only way our ancestors were able to survive circumstances far more difficult and far more life-threatening than anything that we currently face. We need to channel the Torah of Captain Kirk, realizing how we ourselves might be perpetuating a downward spiral in our relationships and in society at large. We must have the wisdom and courage to recognize that and change our behavior. May 5783 be a year for positive thinking and a renewed commitment to seeing and manifesting goodness. Live long and prosper. Shana Tova.
Ask us to turn in our booklets to page 2, number 1.
Ben Adam, ale lemala ale, ale lemala ale, Ben Adam, ale lemala ale. Ben Adam, ale lemala ale, ale lemala ale, Ben Adam, ale lemala ale. ככל עוזך, יש לך כנפי רוח, יש לך כנפי רוח, כנפי נשרים אבירים, אל תכחש בם, פן יכחשו לך, דרוש בך, דרוש בן אדם, וימצאו לך מיד. בבן אדם, עלה למעלה, עלה למעלה, בן אדם, עלה למעלה. Now you know it. בן אדם, עלה למעלה, עלה למעלה, בן אדם, עלה למעלה. ככל עוזך, יש לך כנפי רוח, יש לך כנפי רוח, כנפי נשרים אבירים, אל תכחש בם, פן יכחשו בך, דרוש בך, דרוש בן אדם, וימצאו לך מיד. בן אדם, עלה למעלה עלה, עלה למעלה עלה, בן אדם, עלה למעלה עלה.
toward the home stretch of our Kol Nidre evening together. Can we hold it all? Our hope and our fear, our strengths and our shortcomings, our gemilut chesed, loving acts, which we've just learned so profoundly. The more we do, the more we see, and the more we see, the more we do. And our chataim, our sins. Before we open our hearts and open the ark for Avinu Malkinu, we invite Stacy Foyer and Michael and Jacob Ostheimer to please join us. We turn back to page 818, where we already did the prayer on top, but below the line from Rabbi Rami Shapiro, to see ourselves as we are.
Today we stand before the mirror of all to see ourselves as we are. We come with no gifts, no bribes, no illusions, no excuses. We stand without defense and wait to be filled. What will fill us? Remorse, certainly. So much error and needless pain. And joy, remembered moments of love and right doing. We are too complex for single-sided emotions, and we are too simple to be excused by our complexity. Let us be bold enough to see, humble enough to feel, daring enough to turn and embrace the way of justice, mercy, and simplicity.
458. Page 458 for the Mekorenu Eloheinu version, or 452 for the original. We rise as we are able.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, אבינו מלכנו חטאנו לפניך, אבינו מלכנו אין לנו מלך אלא אתה, אבינו מלכנו עשה עמנו למען שמך, אבינו מלכנו חדש עלינו שנה טובה, אבינו מלכנו הפר עצת אויבינו, אבינו מלכנו. Our parent, our sovereign, inscribe us in the book of redemption and salvation. Our parent, our sovereign, inscribe us in the book of sustenance. Our parent, our sovereign, inscribe us in the book of merit. Our parent, our sovereign, inscribe us in the book of forgiveness and atonement. Avinu malkeinu, chanenu vanenu. Avinu malkeinu, chanenu vanenu, ki en banu maasim. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, ve'hoshienu. Avinu malkeinu, chonenu vanenu. Avinu malkeinu, chonenu vanenu, ki en banu maasim. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, ve'hoshienu. Avinu malkeinu, chonenu vanenu. Avinu malkeinu, chonenu vanenu, ki en banu maasim.
We may be seated. Our president, Shauna Wacker.
Gmar Chatima Tova Chaverim. This is a solemn evening, and yet it's wonderful to look out and see all of you here to celebrate or to observe Yom Kippur and Kol Nidre together in our own shul. And it's a privilege to hear Rabbi Fred and Rabbi Chazan Rachel lead these meaningful services and take us through these holy days for a final time. The Jewish New Year creates space for looking back and looking ahead. For several years, I've participated in something called 10Q, 10 questions, 10 days. You're sent a question of reflection each day between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and you submit your answers. Then everything disappears until the next holiday season, when out of the blue, everything you wrote and thought from the previous year comes back to you. And no matter how much I think I know myself and how confident I am that I remember the details of my own life, I always read my answers from the previous year with wonder and trepidation. The troublesome incidents or anxious fears and concerns from the previous year, which I thought would have a long, long life in my mind and my heart, and I have completely let them go. The areas where I felt so blessed and so grateful, which I thought would have a long, long life in my heart and my mind, and I have completely let them go. And although it first seemed good to forget the worries and concerns, and not so good to forget where I was fortunate, I've learned the importance of holding both, of remembering both, because they illuminate one another in ways that help us grow. And there is a lesson here for us as a community. We face greater change as the new year unfolds than many of us have known as a congregation. Change coming from departure, as well as from a more organic need to rebuild as we exit the pandemic era, as we come back in person, as we think about the future and vitality of Adat Shalom. At this time, some of us may feel only the concern, the trepidation of confronting that change, but there is also the wonder, both in the sense of to wonder or to ponder, as well as the sense of inspiration and expanse about what might come to be. We have many things to build on. Thanks to the hard work of our wonderful staff, we have a vital and growing Jewish education program with a significantly larger group of students than in recent years. Along with our marvelous Tat Shabbat, this is critical to a bright future. We have welcomed a number of new members and families into our community just recently. Our relatively new First Fridays musical Kabbalat Shabbat routinely brings 100 or more of us to welcome Shabbat together. The Oneg is back, which is no small feat and which everyone can enjoy. Our building has life during the week. The First Agape AME Zion Church, the National Therapy Center, the Potomac Symphony, a theater troupe, and Israeli dancing make extra use of our beautiful building. This is not only vitality, but a little sustenance for our shul. Our beautiful Shabbat morning services, food for the soul, bring familiar and beloved voices and plenty of opportunities for us as congregants to participate, particularly in this new year. And we will have a very creative set of Shabbat voices throughout the year, bringing dynamic guests to our bima, with special thanks to Rabbi Sid, and so much more. If we hold together what concerns us and what blesses us, we will see in a year's time how far we have come together and how much agency we have shown to reconstruct, to turn a corner, to help others turn a corner. If we hold together what blesses us and what concerns us, we will remember what we have to be grateful for, including this community and all that we can do for this community in this coming year of change. So participate, attend, volunteer, and vision. My wish for us this 5783 is to let our challenges and blessings illuminate each other, making us active community members in the life and future of Adat Shalom, and making us active community members in all the ways that our larger world so desperately needs for the good of all. Gemar Chatima Tova.
We opened with the blessing that the glow of these candles lit by Shauna's predecessors would infuse us along with the glow of one another. And Shauna, your words embodied that glow. Thank you. Next to those candles that are still blazing, of course, are the outside candles, a reminder that Yizkor is around the corner. Soon we'll lay out the details and the plans. It's been presented, but after the 9 a.m. service and then an afternoon break that includes the Biyachad service and other learning opportunities at 1 and 2:15, we come back at 3:30 for a remarkable mincha. And by 5 o'clock, after multiple speakers and learning and celebration, we turn to Yizkor. And we will have the chance, that annual solemn moment of remembering those that we bring with us in our hearts, but not in their or our embodied form, into this new year. For tonight, we turn to page 1216. And we invite all those who are in mourning or commemorating a yahrzeit, or whose custom it may be, to rise as we're able. 1216, Kaddish Yatom. Yit gadal v'yit kadash me rabba. Ba'alma divra chirute v'amlich malchute. B'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shme rabba mevarach le'olam l'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehesh shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen.
Let's all rise now together, page 1202. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer reshit, shenatan lanu Torah emet, v'chaye olam nata betochenu, va'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu shehu noter shamayim. כן נקווה לך, אדוני אלוהינו לראות מהירה בתפארת עוזך. כי המלכות שלך היא ולעולמי עד תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, We can be seated and stay upright in our hearts and our consciousness so we can extend the message of this prayer another few verses.
Children will say one day.
we've come to the end of our Kol Nidre service. I bet a lot of you in this room remember all those beautiful years in various high school auditoriums. It's nice to be here in our own home, but one of the things that we were able to do in those spaces was to have a chance to greet each other. For those of us who have been far away from all of you on the bima, to be able to say hello. Now, just look at this room. There's a big, wide open space if you don't want to say hello. You can just go right out there. No problem, no offense. And if you want to stay and say hello, Rabbi Fred and Rabbi Sid and I will be just past the doors here. And we'll be happy to greet you, very happy to wish you Chatima Tova. And obviously, of course, we all have to make our own choices about our threshold for COVID right now. So again, there's really no hard feelings if you decide to go home. We're happy to have you here and happy to be with you either way. Okay. I just want to ask you to join me in an expression of gratitude to all the musicians who have come together to make this service and all of our services come to life. I'm so beyond grateful to all of you, and we'll have other opportunities to thank you all by name before the Yom Kippur is done. Maestro? We'll end just as we began with that last verse from Adon Olam, Beyado Afkid Ruchi. I place my hand in that life forces. I placed my soul, excuse me, in the hand of that life force. As we sing this, I'll ask Rabbi Fred and Rabbi Sid, while we're still singing, to join me so we can make our way to the back, and those that would like to stop by and say hi, you'll know where to find us. Everyone, Chatima Tova, may we all be not only written but sealed for life and goodness. Page 1224 in your book if you want the words. Beyado